I am resident of Collinwood for YouTube. Jules Sains. That is my buddy Alan Gallant. That is my buddy Patrick McCray. We are here to talk the next installment of the Matt Helm movies, The Ambushers. Well, the movie we should have discussed first, but it's okay.
Second. It's a good movie.
Yeah, sorry,
1968. We're going backwards.
Yeah, second. We went backwards. It's okay. This movie actually, what I like about it only had a budget of $4 million and it made $10 million. That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
It was released December 22nd, 1967. So it only had one release date. Thank God.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a new Christmas tradition.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. My grandmother was born on Christmas Eve, my mom's mom. So, but
in 1967?
No. Way,
God.
no.
Poor mother, right?
Way before that, because my mom was born in '63, in November.
My God. I'm older than your mother.
She died young. She died at 40. So
I'm older than your mother would have been. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. That being said, Dean Martin really delivers here. I really like how they do things. Again, not exactly the same for each movie, and they always find a way to include their arch nemesis rival within their stories. Which
Big
is
O.
nice. Big O, yeah. Which I was actually surprised how they did that with this movie. Were you guys? Because I'd never seen this
No.
movie either.
Because it's part of the ritual. Of course, all they have to do is say Big O's paying for it, and boom, they're in the movie. It's it's not like this is some tight Jean Le Carré written thriller, of intricate nuance and layering that keeps you guessing until the last second. It's not that type of spy story.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's a very.
It's
a smiley film top.
It's not even really fully blown spy. It's more like sexual peccadillo adventure
of an old drunk.
Yes.
With too much high tech.
Right. With interludes, musical interludes with Dean and Frank and Sammy occasionally, probably. I don't know.
Hugo Montenegro really blows out all the stops.
He does, actually. I really enjoyed the music, and this is very evocative of that sort of instrumental 60s kind of jet setter music. It's very cool.
Well, Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass had the most hit singles or the most best-selling albums of the decade.
Yes,
they were the number one act of the decade.
Yep.
People don't think it's Elvis and the Beatles.
No.
And TJB.
The frequency in resale shops of whipped cream and other delights should tell you something. It's like
right.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. They actually had enough money to film in Mexico, so I like that part of this movie.
It was a short drive. I mean, it was a few hours from the studio, and they were there.
Yeah, which is really cool. It was cool to not just see studio. It was cool to see on location with this movie as well, which you do see in the Matt Helm films. I really like this one the best because I love the fight. The fight choreography is different in this one a bit. I love him going into the guy going into the bottle and out of the bottle.
Sure.
Which was just the gags in these movies for the funny stuff is absolutely hilarious. The smoking, the cigarette, the Mexican cigarette at the soldiers who are going to shoot Matt out.
He's puffing, puffing as desperately as he can to get the laughing gas out of the cigarette. It's just absurd, and it's supposed to be. So
it has a level of smutty innuendo that would embarrass even me.
Oh yeah, well,
wow, is it puerile? And God bless it.
Does recall simulating something over microphones, doesn't it? I mean,
I like the gunplay we get in this movie, though it doesn't feel as loud as maybe as the other two movies. it's a lot of fun because I wasn't expecting the one woman to just walk up and shoot the one guy, but she shot him with blanks, which is again a fun gag,
right,
in the movie. Like, wait, they just killed the villain in this movie? No, it's a gag. It's a gag. It's a lot of fun. Which was fun. They Matt Helm and her pose as husband and wife, which was a lot of fun. I love how they have the maracas, if you will, as weapons.
Yeah.
That
so
was
he's holding them like this. That's
yeah.
your first clue, okay?
Yeah.
Not holding them like Davy Jones, you know. It's not
Exactly.
What did you guys think of the cool little designs of the maracas? It's sort of being like weapons.
It's supposed to. You're supposed to have a wink and a nod about all of this stuff. So it's innovative, but it's funny, you know. At the same time, it's just the way these films are set out. It's a good boozy, you know, sexy time. The whole thing. So yeah, all of that stuff is great, and the supervillain in this one, which is Jose Ortega, played by Albert Salmi, an actor of some repute, and some tragedy, unfortunately.
Yes, he shot himself and then his wife.
Of great repute. He was a part of that company of actors in the mid 20th century. You know, he would have been thrown in terms of style and approach with Brando and Dean and some of these others. Salmi was very, very good. As a matter of fact, if you ever get a chance to see the live version, I think it was Armstrong Theater or one of those, of Bang the Drum Slowly, which was done. Albert Salmi is in that with, I think it's Paul Newman, I think. Yeah. It's really good. It's really good for what it is, which is a live teleplay. But Salmi in this one is kind of weird. I mean, it's like he's got a really, really enlarged prostate, the way he walks around. He's just like really stiff, and I guess it was a character choice, but it's it is kind of funny, but it's almost too committed. It's like
the prostate for Albert Salmi's prostate was manually enlarged before shooting every day.
Right, that's right. They stuck a straw in it and blew it up like a balloon. It
was a little more medical than that. It was an invention of the Belgians.
Oh.
But Salmi was a great proponent of it. He's also a good Twilight Zone actor. He's on every show of the 1960s.
He was.
Start looking at
all over everything. Yep. Yeah, he was very good. I recommend looking him up to anybody in terms of having some interesting performances. Really, really good.
He's in Caddyshack. He's in Caddyshack. Yeah, he plays Michael O'Keefe's. I think it's Michael O'Keefe's. His father. He plays Danny Noonan's.
That must have been towards the end of his career. I think he retired by the mid 80s. From acting, he retired at that point in time. Janice Rule is great in this movie too.
She's very good. She's a very unusual Dean co-star.
Yeah,
she's so.
Yes, she's very, very self-possessed. She's confident. She's also brunette. But yet she's American brunette. She's not exotic brunette. So she's very different.
She is the Lisa Richards of this production.
Yes, absolutely. She has an atypical approach and an atypical casting. Yeah.
I think that's, maybe I'm wrong. I think that's something the Matt Helm movies do a lot better than the James Bond movies, is have these female assassins. They pull it off really well.
Sometimes the female characters are more developed in the Matt Helm films in some cases.
Yeah, they really are, and that's the thing too. Like when we did the one with Sharon Tate, like she was amazing. I mean, just her character was out of this world.
Yeah, and she's in a huge amount of the film, and and has a chance to develop an arc and have some revelations and things. So yeah.
Yeah. When did you guys first see this movie, Patrick?
I saw it in that magical year of 1986, where I saw all the others, and because I think again, Ted Turner probably got a block of them, and they were just fantastic. I enjoyed each one more than the prior. Now, this movie had been written about by the Medveds in, I think, 50 Worst Films of All Time.
Mm-hmm.
And the Medveds were very good at certainly promoting a certain sphere of cinema history. They were snobby and wrong about a lot of stuff.
You're talking about Michael Medved?
Pardon?
You're talking about Michael Medved?
Michael and his brother Harry.
Well, he's snobby and wrong as a human being anyway.
Well, yeah, then Michael became an insufferable, political voice. But they could be witty. And I remember going into a lot of movies I'd read about by the Medveds with a real snobby attitude. And by the time I walked away from the movie, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. You're right. They were promoting a certain image of films. They were trying to be less egalitarian than certain other, as particularly television reviewers of the time, if you know who I mean. And so, yeah, I guess they self-styled themselves as sort of more intellectual voice of movie reviewing in some ways. So,
they missed out on a very important boat, and the boat is this: if these movies have enough in them that they can write very, very humorously sometimes about their history, and obviously watch them a bunch of times to write about their history, then they might not be good, but they're not bad. I mean, or they're not.
They may
bad,
have some value.
They're put in a different way.
Yeah. There's a value to it, even outside of, say, the bailiwick of, it's no Citizen Kane, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and Peter Gilmore said that a bad movie is a movie he doesn't want to see again.
Right.
And that's a great way to phrase it. I mean, no, this is not On Her Majesty's Secret Service. This is not Spy Who Came In From the Cold.
Right.
This is those movies. But I have seen it more times than I've seen any of those films.
I have too, and I've seen the Flint films more than I've seen a lot of those films too. Speaking of films, there's the French films. It was a genre. It was something that was played specifically, and it was something that was developed through about a decade of various films. So, it had its run.
Alan, you were a kid when this came out. Do you remember not going to see these movies, but do you remember when they came out and what their
absolutely
role was like that was?
We had several drive-ins in my area where these movies would often play. We had one small Cineplex that had, I think 2 or 3 movie houses in it. And we had 2 cinemas that had single houses that seated over 300 people.
Okay.
So we had a bunch of, I remember going to the Bangor Drive-In and seeing, in 1964, seeing The Unsinkable Molly Brown from the back seat of my car, from my parents' car.
Really?
Yeah. So, I remember these movies. I've seen them.
As you go out.
What's that? Oh.
The light by the stairs as you go out. Turn it on. Yeah, that's all. Thank you. Yeah. You were saying.
I remember seeing in the paper all these films. And I also remember seeing in the paper these so-called X-rated films of the time, which were softcore films, actually, that were, they were advertised in the newspaper. And I was always curious about what was playing and what might be. And these kind of movies, the Flint movies, which, I didn't see these movies until the 70s, most of them. And I saw them because they would go into syndication on local television. That's how I saw the Matt Helm films. they went into syndication. They bought a package of them, probably in the mid-'70s sometime. About the same time that Star Trek was starting to get syndicated really heavily. In my locality anyway. So that's when I started to really see them. But yeah, I was aware of all of these movies. 2001: A Space Odyssey. My brother went to see it. He talked about it for days afterwards. So I had an inkling of these kind of films that people were seeing at the time. But you're right, I was way too young to actually see them. I was only 8 years old when this one came out. So
okay,
yeah, I saw this film today as soon as I got home.
Did you enjoy it?
Hell yeah, it was a lot of fun.
As a Mexican.
Yeah. Well, remember in the first movie he says, I'm going to Mexico to look for Mexicans, and it's like, so this sort of continued.
Yeah.
Finally found them.
Yeah, he found them in this movie.
I'll tell you what, in terms of tragic substance abuse, rarely has it been more hilarious than James Gregory on that train.
Oh my God!
No.
Wow, is he? I mean, he's
loaded.
He's really gone.
Yeah. I think James Gregory always struck me as being loaded most of the time. Anyway,
that was his shtick.
Yeah,
but here you can just tell
he really is loaded. The first inkling I had of James Gregory, other than this kind of movie, which I kind of glossed over and forgot about him when the first time I saw it, was in his television career when he was
Barney Miller.
Barney Miller, yeah.
Barney.
Yeah, exactly. Come in and it was like he had dyspepsia and had been drinking.
Sure he did.
That sort of pump organ voice.
You know who James Gregory would have been perfect as? Julia Hoffman's ex-husband.
Yeah.
Or Julian Hoffman, for that matter.
Or Julian Hoffman, yeah, her brother.
Yes, Julia Hoffman's ex-husband, the one she denies ever having had.
No, it's him. He owns a bowling alley. Just don't even ask.
He owns a bowling alley in Worcester.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. There's that scene on the train where he shoots the guy in the dark.
And then he's gesturing at Matt with the gun.
Yeah, it's like
seriously. Yeah, it's like something out of Plan 9 from Outer Space where the guy puts the pistol up to his hat.
Oh yeah, the Inspector Clay.
Yeah.
Inspector's dead, murdered.
Here's the thing too. He makes it work in this movie. It's just like,
well, it's because this movie's intentionally funny.
Right.
Now, speaking of intentionally funny, did you notice a certain something that James Cameron later ripped off?
Oh my God! What would
the
that
power
be?
loaders?
Oh my God!
Okay.
Yeah, the power loaders. That's. I mean, it's the only other time I've seen anything like that.
Right.
In a motion picture.
Well, that's not all when he did Aliens, when James Cameron did the sequel to Aliens, he called them bugs. It's the sequel to Aliens is a loosely based plagiarism on Starship Troopers.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, so I mean he took from stuff for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But this he's taking from a Dean Martin spy movie.
Yeah, it's
and that makes it special.
Funky. Yeah, it does.
It's not Helen Ellison that he's ripping off. It's Matt Helm. And it's glorious
funkiness.
Well, when you're ripping off a Matt Helm movie, it is funny because you see all this crazy stuff in these movies. One of my favorite scenes in this movie, guys, is when he takes the picture of the bad guy and sends it to his ICE, the people he's working for, and then there's that woman in the white bikini, and he's like, she goes into water, and her husband's like, "You don't want to go to her. That's my wife."
After he's like expressed interest in her, like he's lusting after her, and he's what's her name? Who is she? She's my wife.
My wife. Yeah.
I have this memory, and it may be a false memory, but I think that Dean Martin was advertising some company's leisure wear during the making of these films, because he is wearing specific types of like golf wear and sailing wear and all of this sort of leisure wear.
They mentioned Oleg Cassini in this, who was a major designer at the time.
I think he designed some of the costumes in this movie, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Reference to, I think like suddenly you realize when you're at that needless party in Mexico, you're at this needless party in Mexico. Oh my God, it's all Cassini.
Yes.
Including Albert Salmi's fabulous blue velvet outfit.
It is definitely the Cassini touch, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Is there a place you guys wish a Matt Helm movie would have filmed that you would have liked to have seen?
Man.
Calcutta, Bombay. The black hole of Calcutta. That would have been glamorous.
I think Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tokyo or Kyoto.
Not fitting into anything and being too big for everything. Yeah.
Yeah. It also would have given him the chance to be vaguely racist, lusting after Asian women,
Now, Alan, come on. I don't know if I'd say vaguely.
Oh, yeah, you're right. The last movie we watched, The Wrecking Crew, there's a song that has so. You're right. It's not vague at all. It's just ridiculous.
It owns it revels in its evil.
The only thing that would have made it more obvious is if they'd had Mickey Rooney coming on in Asian drag.
Wow.
I'll go on that would have, and England, because I who are you? Matt Helm.
Yeah, the whole Bond thing in there.
Yeah, literally spoof James Bond right in his backyard.
Of course, the British have never heard of it. Even if they have him, they'd never admit it. So.
Well, you could play to that in the Matt Helm movie. You could say, "What do you mean you've never heard of me? I'm a famous photographer."
That's right. And you could have this whole extended scene where it's hanging out on Carnaby Street, rubbing elbows with all of the fashion fascists.
Take a picture of the MI6 headquarters. Hey, that place looks familiar.
The Kinks could be in the soundtrack with their song "Dedicated Follower."
Yeah.
He's doing a high fashion shoot with the Queen.
Yes. Who at that time was still young enough to do a high fashion shoot.
Oh, God.
Been in the 30s.
Oh, Alan, did you name a place or?
Bombay, Calcutta.
Okay.
Whatever.
Why not? Right? Yeah. Oh my God.
The worse it smells, the better, So have something to play.
Besides Matt Helm, who's the character you really enjoyed in this movie?
Janice Rule. I think she's
really
Janice Rule.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Salmi was riveting for strange reasons, but
that mustache.
But Salmi, Rule, Janice Rule, definitely. Second
Sheila.
Mine's all the different like evil characters we get in this movie that are out for their own agendas. Especially Big O, like them, like trying to make this backdoor deal, and them themselves getting betrayed, and it's like, oh shit. Like that was a lot of fun to see in this movie because again, I'm watching these for the first time. It wasn't something I was expecting, and it makes it all the more fun when they sort of get it in the back too. And it's like, do you realize who you're fucking with?
Yeah.
You know the pattern here. You like round-shaped, round-illusioned supervillains. Okay, you like Big O. Why? Because it's round. You like Judah Zachary. Why? Because his head is round. He's bald.
Blofeld, same thing. Round head.
You've talked about Blofeld many times. You just sometimes called me up in the middle of the night, and it's the only word you mutter over and over again until you go, and then you hang up.
I thought the only word I said to you was Cult of Zachary, Cult of Judas.
Cult of Zachary.
Yeah. But yeah, it's nice to see, especially the spy comedy, different little things going on within the frame of the story, and it makes it all the more fun.
It does.
Yeah, it does. If you take the serious spy films, you see some of these layerings that go on, and so if you can, there's a lot to mine there in terms of it, and I think these movies do that pretty well. Okay, and the ridiculousness of henchmen and all of that sort of thing, which was taken to its ultimate level, I think, in the Batman television series, and subsequent movie. So, but yeah,
which is the best of the Batman movies, in my opinion.
The first one, 66 Batman. Yeah, where the Penguins henchmen in the submarine are going yo yo.
And what is it? The Israeli gets his brain in the German ambassador. Very subversive film.
Yeah, we need to review that one day.
Yes, we do. I love that movie.
That is a good one. Yeah, another. I'll give that is to me. I'd say I'd put that right at number 2, and I'll tell you why. And it's to me, it's number 2 because I really love Mask of Phantasm.
Oh yeah,
that was Kevin Conroy. That was really great. A great movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of the animation stuff, so.
To me, that was it gets into the origin story of Batman, but it doesn't shit on anything. It plays it really well, and they do. Mark Hamill comes back as Joker, and they do it right, in my opinion, in that movie. Better than Burton's for sure. But I would put that one number 1 ahead of the '60s one because it's just so. From a story context, it's criminally underrated.
Yeah, it's a good film.
Yeah,
it's got a good mob element, backstory.
Yeah,
that I think Batman works really well with.
But I did. Yeah, because I mean, the original concept of Batman was that he was the world's greatest detective, and he was also fighting against gangs a lot of times, various gangs or heads of gangs,
gang heads.
Yeah.
I would put Mask of Phantasm, the '60s Batman movie, because that is really good. That's one I saw as a kid and enjoyed the hell out of. Because the plot's fun too.
Yeah.
And my third one would be Under the Red Hood, which is really, really good too. What happened to Patrick?
I think we just lost him for a minute. I think he must have lost his signal, which Wi-Fi. Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of the animated ones, so I need to do that because I've heard a great deal of positive things about them. So, but yeah, I like the first Burton film just fine. I really enjoy that, and I also like the first Dark Knight film in terms of the live action films. But the Batman television series, I grew up watching it. I mean, when it was on, I was glued to the screen twice a week because they used to put it on twice a week. They'd have 2-part episodes all the time. So it was that was my primary exposure to Batman besides the comic books my brother used to buy. In the '60s, Batman was a different animal for sure than he was, say, in the previous era or the era after that.
Yeah. It's let me make sure. I'm pretty sure I can find something here.
Yeah, the '60s Batman was safe for children.
Yeah,
'80s Batman was not. He became the Dark Knight. So, '80s and '90s Batman.
Yeah. Yeah. He no, the '80s Batman. Yeah, it wasn't. Let me see. Okay, no, Byron. Okay, so I know it was available to watch at one point. It's not now. Mask of Phantasm. But that is pretty good. I'll track down the '60s Batman movie. What's What's a superhero movie that's underrated for you, Alan?
A superhero movie that's underrated for me. It's not. It's sort of a superhero movie. I can't even remember the name of it now. What's it called? Captain Amazing or something? It's Alan Arkin, and he's a washed-up superhero who is called upon to come back and kind of save the city or whatever. Let me see if I can find the name of that. It's not a typical superhero movie at all. Let me see if I can find that. It's Captain Invincible.
Okay.
A red-caped legend, Alan Arkin in leotards, emerges from drunken exile to save the world from evil Mr. Midnight, which is played by Christopher Lee. So it's melodrama, and it's kind of tongue-in-cheek. It's sort of in that same vein as movies like Remo Williams or some of those movies that they made that were sort of satires of superheroes and super spies at the time, back in the 80s. And it's kind of like that. It has that flavor to it. Yeah. So that would be mine, because it literally is under the radar. Most people don't even know about it.
Yeah. Let's see. They have some Batman movies on Tubi. Batman versus Dracula is pretty good. It's not bad.
These are animated?
Yeah, I'll send you a couple here.
Sure. Sure.
When we get down here, because I
pop them in the message. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Hold on. I know Patrick messaged me. I know he. Okay. If I can't return, make a plan, and I'll stick to it. So Patrick, he got his Skype went out. He said if he can't return, just us make a plan, and we'll stick to it. I'm trying to think of other. Who did Dean Martin play Matt Rule the character the best, you think?
Yes, the television series really didn't take off. It was Tony Franciosa, who's a fine actor, but he's not. He just didn't quite have that sort of boozy swagger that Dean Martin is known for, and everybody already knew Dean Martin playing the role, so Franciosa was a little too crisp. I remember watching it, and he's a fine actor, and he did a yeoman's job with it, but he just it didn't go over the way that Dean Martin went over in the role.
Yeah, that's it's crazy, because like the person, like I know he's not, he can do. The guy I would have replaced him with would have been Louis Edmonds would have been a good would have been real good.
I also think Louis Edmonds would have made an exceptional non-British version of the great detective Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot of fun, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, Louis Edmonds. Louis Edmonds was in one spy film as a villain, Come Spy With Me, with Troy Donahue. It was kind of a B movie spy film that he made while he was auditioning for Dark Shadows.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
There are some promo pictures out there of it, and a couple of him. So he's a villain in it. He's a bad guy.
Yeah, I remember just the fact of with this movie too. Like, I really enjoyed it. Like, I've enjoyed all the Matt Helm movies. They're really funny, and Dean Martin could act. I mean, he could perform.
Yeah, he had a certain style, and he was good at it. He went with his strength. He didn't try to do anything outside of his strength, and was good at what he did.
Yeah, he really was.
Yeah,
and the choreography of these films is really underrated from a fight sequence standpoint too. All of them.
Yeah, I mean, they had great stunt coordinator and stunt people that did a lot of that heavy lifting in those.
There's one more movie, right, for Matt
I
Helm?
think there is. Let me check. I know that we did. So what movie did you do before we did Wrecking Crew? Would have been the first one.
We did The Silencers. Yeah.
The Silencers. So let me see, man. Films. So that means you've done The Silencers, Ambushers, and Murderers Row. So, I mean, no, you didn't do Murderers Row. You did The Silencers, and we did the Ambushers tonight, and the Wrecking Crew. So it's Murderers Row, which is the second film.
Yeah.
If we haven't done that, then we should probably do that and finish out the 4.
Yeah, tomorrow night. Let's do Murder, because I just found it. Let's do Murder Row tomorrow night. We'll finish out the Matt Helm films. And
I think it's on Tubi, isn't it?
I just literally found it on YouTube.
Okay.
So I'll send that to you guys.
Right.
Both you and Patrick.
Yeah.
We'll wrap up the Matt Helm films, and I'll send you some Batman anime.
It's cool.
The Dracula one's pretty decent. It makes sense from a storyboard standpoint how they did it.
Yeah.
Because when they advertised this, and again, I was like a teenager when they advertised this, I was skeptical initially of Batman vs. Dracula, really?
Well, it's kind of a crossover. Yeah.
Yeah, it's but they pull it off really well. Yeah. So, I give this movie a solid 8.5 out of 10. What do you give it, Alan?
Yeah, for the style of movie it is, I give it an 8.
Yeah, it's really good. These movies are entertaining.
They're very much entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah. Link to Alan Gallant's YouTube channel, Collins Port After Dark, is going to be in the description box. Link to Patrick McCray's Dark Shadows Daybook Unbound is going to be in the description box. Tomorrow night, we finish up the Matt Helm films with Murderers Row. Have a good night, buddy.
Take care, man.
Bye.
Thanks again.
Yep.